Welcome to the Women Talk podcast, where ordinary women share their extraordinary stories. We would love for you to share your story on our podcast. Go to www.womentalk.ca and apply to share your story. And now let's welcome your host, founder, and CEO of Women Talk, Bridget Lessard-Diel.
It's such a pleasure to be here with you today. My guest is the girl in the gold bikini. Dana Goldstein has been a journalist, a videographer, and now owner of Chick Flicks, and she is one amazing storyteller. She shares with us how she wrote her first book. Let's enjoy Dana's story.
I woke up reluctantly at 5 o'clock in the morning on January 3rd, 2017. I had made myself a promise that I was going to write a book in 2017, not just write it, but publish it as well. I felt like I had had a book inside me probably since I was 9 years old. And I had so many false starts and stops, and I had notebooks filled with little stories, and I had loose leaf pieces of paper all over the place. I was great at starting stories, but never really knew where to finish them unless it was required for school. So language arts was always my best subject, and I always felt like I had bigger stories to tell. But at 9 years old, how do you know how to even tell those stories? So it's been a goal of mine to write a book. But anytime I started even going through adulthood, it never kind of fleshed out. I would start the story, not know where to take it, and then drop it. But I never stopped telling stories because I became a reporter. I was a journalist for quite a long time. I wrote feature stories for newspapers and magazines across North America. I worked in the film industry. So telling stories has always been a part of my work. But on January 3rd, I had made the resolution, and I don't usually make resolutions, but I made a resolution that 2017 was going to be the year that I wrote and published my first book. So 5 o'clock in the morning, my alarm goes off. I'm not really happy about it, but I made myself the promise. So I dragged my tired self out of bed. I had blocked off the time between 5 and 6, maybe up to 6:30 to do my writing because that's what worked for me. I have 2 kids who I need to get up and get ready to go to school and make their lunches. So for me to get up early is the best way that it works for me. So here goes. I'm going to give this a try. 5 o'clock in the morning, I get up, I go make coffee, I get my laptop, I sit on the couch, my legs are stretched out in front of me, and the laptop is sitting on my lap, and it's still dark because it's January 5:15 in the morning. And I start typing. I don't have a title. I don't have any idea where I'm going with this. I just start typing a story about a woman and her husband. She's in her office, and her husband comes and stands in the doorway of her office. That's my line. And I just start building and developing from there. So I worked on that story for that full hour. It probably ended up being like an hour and 5 minutes that I did the writing. And then I felt really good. Like day one of my book writing journey is already underway. So that day progresses. The next day, on January 4th, I wake up 5 o'clock again. Still really, this is a hard adjustment. I used to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to do my exercise, but this is a different kind of exercise now. This is like my mental exercise. This is the exercise that makes me feel really, really good when it's done. So January 4th, 5 a.m., back downstairs, coffee on the couch, laptop on my legs. I look at I'd written just a little more than 1,000 words the day before on the first day. And I get ready to type, and I close my eyes and I try to put myself in the space of the story and nothing happens. Not a word is coming to the page. I don't know where I'm taking this story. I don't know what the idea is, because I did not make any kind of plan or lay out how this story was going to roll out. I just thought, oh, this is going to be so easy. I'm just going to sit and I'm just going to type away my story and it's going to be awesome. So no writing happened that day, because I sat there and I stared at my blinking cursor, my little line, and I had nothing. Not a single word. I didn't know where the story was going to go. And I had just the previous summer finished reading Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic. And one of the really big things in that story that really stuck with me was that if you don't get your book done or your idea written or your poem started or your song penned, it will leave you and go somewhere else. And I truly believe that even though I had started that book, I think I started it too late and it left me. And I had to be okay with that. So I let January 4th just be a washout. But I wasn't going to give up. January 5th, my alarm goes off, 5 a.m., do the same thing, coffee, couch, laptop. And I think, what am I going to write? I'm putting this fiction aside. Maybe I'll give nonfiction a go. So I start telling the story of my relationship with food. It just sort of popped into my head that I need to talk about how I feel about food, how food has a role in my life, how food is such a big part of family celebrations, the good stuff, the bad stuff, the ugly stuff, the stuff nobody wants to talk about. And I just started hammering on the keys. And I was so driven, like I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, like, yes, this is the stuff you're supposed to tell. This is the story. Go. And I just kept going. And day one, I had close to 2,000 words. My kids were late for school that day because when I'm writing, sometimes I just can't stop. I just have to go until I get to a place where I feel I can leave off. So that was the catharsis. So January 5th was the day I actually started writing the book, The Girl in the Gold Bikini. Within a couple of weeks of writing, I had the title. The title popped into my head. I knew that it was going to be called The Girl in the Gold Bikini. I knew that the photo on the front was going to be of me when I was 7 years old, I think. And I had a gold bikini, and I loved that gold bikini. So this book just sort of walks through my experience with food. But the interesting part is the feedback that's come back from the early readers. And a lot of them are saying that they get it. Like they've been in those spaces and they truly thought they were the only one. And they are excited about being able to have somebody express what goes on in their heads and they're unable to express. And I make them feel okay for struggling on a daily basis with food and food related issues. But here's the bigger message of the book. The bigger message of the book is that at some point in our lives, we have all had a gold bikini, whether it was a pair of figure skates or a dress or a costume or a hairstyle. We've all had our gold bikini. And when you have that gold bikini on, you feel the best you've ever felt. You're amazing. You're unstoppable. You can do anything. You can achieve anything. You can overcome anything. The challenge is to remember that gold bikini and find that gold bikini again and mentally put it on. Because imagine how amazing your day will be when you put that gold bikini on. I'm not going out and buying myself a brand new gold bikini, folks. It's just not going to happen. But mentally, if I start my day with how I felt at 7 years old when I wore that gold bikini and I felt like a movie star, glamorous, smart, pretty, all those awesome things that a 7-year-old thinks. But if I start my day with putting on my gold bikini mentally, nothing will get in your way. Nothing gets in my way. So go out there, get the book, come see me in Okotoks at Women Talk on May 15th to hear more about this, but go find your own gold bikini and rock your day.
Are you looking for less bounce for your buck? Go to www.sportsbras.ca, where you'll find the support you deserve.
Gold bikini. I love it. Now, who bought you that gold bikini?
You know something? It must have been it was either my mother or a grandparent. And here's the funny thing. So there's a lot of stuff in this book where I'm working out some issues around my relationship with my mother. So when I told her about the book, I didn't tell her about the book. The whole time I'm writing the book, she doesn't even know I'm writing it. She didn't know when I published it. And then I found out that one of my cousins had read the book. So I thought, oh, now I have to tell her, because if she finds out through a cousin, I'm in really bigger trouble than I'll be in. So I called her and I told her, and it was like I had a lot of anxiety, a lot of nerves, because I know she's not going to like this book. So I told her I wrote this book, and she said, what did you call it? And I said, it's called The Girl in the Gold Bikini. And her comment was, why would you call it that? You never had a bikini. You were too chubby for bikinis.
No.
Yeah. Which is like, when you read the book, you'd be like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense.
Oh my God.
She is, right? So I laughed. Like, I actually laughed, and I was smiling because I knew I had photos. Yeah. I had photos of her standing with me while I was wearing a bikini.
Yeah.
So, she gets stuck in her head that I was a fat kid. I never would have had a bikini, but I had more than one bikini.
Oh,
and I have the photographic evidence to prove it.
So it looks like you're in that place now where, you accept your mom the way she is, and that's okay.
Yep. She's not going to change.
Yeah.
I'm not going to change. So, we have to navigate around how
and
we
you still
are.
love each other, but you just
you know what? It's tough. We've not really had a great relationship, and that's very clear in the book. She will be receiving the book today, and she's we'll see what happens.
Oh, the rest of the story.
She has promised me that she will keep an open mind, that she won't get mad, and then she says, I'll read it, and then we'll have a discussion.
All right. Well, we may just have to do a second podcast to know the rest of the story. Yeah, or maybe in May in Okotoks when you talk at Women Talk. Now, tell me a little bit about your grandmother, because I know that you talked a little bit about that.
So I talk about my great-grandmother, actually. A little bit about my grandmother, but my great-grandmother, she ruled the family with an iron fist. Like, she made the rules. She brought the family together. She had no problem. If you did something stupid and she heard about it, the next time she saw you, she would look at you. She would stand there with her hands on her hips, and she would shake her head, and then she would whack you on the side of the head and say, you dope. And she dished that out to everybody in the family, whether you were her 45-year-old son or her 8-year-old great-granddaughter.
That is awesome. Yeah. It's so funny, like how everybody in there, like it's all characters, and they're all so different. It's, I just love it. Yeah. Now, so the book is about your relationship with food. Mm-hmm. So what's your favorite food?
Ooh, well, my favorite junk food is potato chips. That's what I call my red light food, right? So like red light, panic, emotion, behavior, stress, like that's where I go. Yeah. What are the salty snacks, the potato chips? But favorite, I can't say that I have one favorite type of cuisine or one favorite thing that I go to, because I've had such a rich experience eating out, learning about food in Italy, which was the chapter on Italy was a big turning point for me when I lived there and discovered that I actually had the power to say, this is what I want, and go make it for me. at a restaurant, right? That I didn't have to always order off menu. But I can't say that I have one favorite kind of cuisine. I love the experience of food. As I get older, it's more about textures and flavors and less about feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Do you like cooking?
Love cooking.
Yeah.
I'm more of a baker. My husband has discovered cooking recently, so he's become the cook, right? He makes coq au vin. Like, hello.
Oh,
I know,
nice.
right? I'm super lucky. So he does the cooking. I'm the baker, right? And it's interesting is that I'll bake cookies and bars and muffins and granola bars and cakes, and I don't tend to eat it as much as I'm a salty person.
Yeah, I know. I have this one recipe that I make. It's a chocolate cake that everybody freaks over. Like, it's super moist and just like people go beside, and I'm like, yeah,
right?
It's just not my thing. I'll have a piece, but I usually have to have ice cream because I find it too chocolatey. I cut it down with like more badness.
Yeah.
So if you had all the money in the world and you could do whatever the heck you wanted, what would you do? What would make you get out of bed?
I would, if money was no issue, I would be living in Hawaii with a view of the Pacific, and I would be writing full time.
Ooh.
Yeah. So so now that my first book is done, I'm still getting up. I took a bit of a break over Christmas, and January started getting up 5 a.m. again. Actually, it's 5:30. I pushed it a little later. So I get up at 5:30, and I still continue to write, and I'm working on my first book in a series for boys ages 8 to 12. So there's a big gap. There's a huge gap in the 8 to 12 material for boys that isn't like juvenile and silly. So my boys are now 12 and 13, and I have to give them credit because they're the reasons I'm working on this series, because I was so frustrated that I couldn't find anything that wasn't like Big Nate or Diary of a Wimpy Kid, which are awesome. They're super fun to read. But when you have a reader who's a little bit more sophisticated and they've already done Harry Potter, where do they go next?
Yeah.
So
good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. And fiction is hard.
Yeah. That's like a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you do better than 90% of the people? What's your one thing that you're like kick-ass good at?
That's a great question. I think I'm kick-ass good at making people feel okay about the stuff they don't normally feel okay about.
Oh, that's good. I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
So that must come in handy with your other company, Chick Flicks, right? When you shoot videos.
Yes.
It must be
the reason I started Chick Flicks was because, so here's the story around Chick Flicks, is that I had come back from a networking event with women, some of whose businesses were closing out at $1 million in revenue. And we talked about video, and I hadn't launched the company yet. So we started talking about video and marketing and all that kind of stuff. And not one of the women in the room felt that they were strong enough, good enough, pretty enough, intelligent enough, eloquent enough to get in front of the camera. And I was like, what are you talking about? You built a business from nothing to $1 million in sales. Hello.
Yeah.
You absolutely have what it takes to tell your story. And I was driving on Deerfoot, the highway from for people outside Calgary, from South Calgary to North Calgary. And I'm getting angrier. I'm getting really pissed off. Like, why do these women feel like that? Somebody needs to do something about this. Somebody needs to start a company where women can feel comfortable getting in front of the camera and telling their stories. And I'm like, oh, that's me. I should do that. And I was in the far passing left lane, and I whipped across 3 lanes of traffic to the shoulder. And I texted my husband and I said, okay, I'm starting a new company. It's going to focus on women in business, and I'm going to do video production for them, professional quality, and I'm going to make them feel great about themselves. And I'm calling it Chick Flicks. And I'm sitting there and I'm seeing the ... when somebody's typing a text, and I'm like, oh my God, he's going to tell me like I'm crazy. He's going to tell me like stick with what I'm doing. And his only message back to me was do it.
Nice.
Yeah. So
I love your husband already. Never met him, but that's awesome.
Yeah. He's not coming back on the market ever.
Oh, what a great story. Now, where can people find your book and your website? I guess you have your book on your website. So what's your website?
So I have, my book is available on Amazon, on Kindle, on Kobo, on Nook, which is the Barnes & Noble version, Amazon.com and Amazon.ca. But you can get it also from DanaGoldstein.ca, not .com. .com was taken, and she is also a writer, fantastic writer out of New York. But DanaGoldstein.ca, and you can click the links to the book there. And if you buy it directly from my website, not through Amazon or Kobo, anywhere in Canada, you get free shipping.
Nice.
Yes.
And Chick Flicks?
Chick Flicks is chickflicks.ca, but it's CHICFLICKS.ca, but that's okay if you misspell it. You should still be diverted, because when the domain came up for the CHICK, I bought that too. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah.
Good for you. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. I think it's a story that so many people are going to relate to. And go buy Dana's book. It is called The Girl in the Gold Bikini. And I am going to buy it and read it as soon as I can. Thank you, Dana. It was wonderful talking to you.
Thank you, Bridget. It's a pleasure.
Do you have a story you're burning to share with our audience? Go to womentalk.ca today and apply to be on our podcast.